guys, welcome to another video here. So today we're going to be working on a little mini treat box, which you might have seen in the description of the video. It is a cute little treat box. I think you're going to really like this project, and we are going to have a lot of different supplies that I'm pulling in. However, I'm starting to try something new. You may have noticed it said that there will be a full supply list over on my blog after this is over. So about 10 minutes after the video is over, I'm going to have, there's a tab at the top of my blog, about in the middle, that says FB Live supply lists. So there'll be a downloadable supply list listed on that page. Anyway, all that said, let's get started on the project, right? This is going to be fun. So it's going to take me just a second to get all the camera flipped around and everything, and then we will get going. Hang on just one moment. Okay, let's get that zoomed in just a little bit. So today we're going to be working with the mini pillow box die. That's going to be the basis of our treat box. We're going to be using, it's the Stamp and Die bundle for the Hello Fall. So it has the stamps, and then it also comes with the coordinating dies for that. We're also going to use the Changing Seasons embossing folder. It has these really pretty leaves on it. So we're going to be using that as well. So let's get the die cut machine, because we are going to need a die cut machine today. So let me try and zoom out just a little so you can see the machine. I love this platinum. I love that the folding sides there takes up so much less room. Grab my plates. So we're starting out with 2 pieces of cardstock, one in buttercream and one in fresh sage. These are both A2 size, so they're 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and both of them are the exact same size. So I'll start out with the fresh sage one and the pillow box die. We're going to actually go ahead and cut the pillow box. So I'm going to be putting the die cut machine in and out a few times as we go today. Go ahead and cut this box out. So when this die cuts, it also cuts score lines with it. Now we are going to come back and emboss this box. But before I stick this in the embossing folder, I want to go ahead and fold along these score lines. Now I've made this box with the embossing a few times now, and what I have found is that if you don't fold the score lines before you run it through in the embossing folder, the embossed cardstock, when you go to fold it, has a tendency to want to try and tear just a little bit. I'm not sure, because the score lines and the embossing both kind of stretch those fibers of the cardstock. That's what it does, so that it's supposed to avoid it tearing. And I'm not sure if just the double stretching on it when it hasn't already been folded into shape once is just making it tear. So I'm kind of pinching along because this is curved. So I'm just kind of coaxing it down and then pinching that fold just to make sure that the fold is there. So then this will all fold up like this when it's done. But I'm going to unfold it again, because now we're going to run it through the embossing folder. So So I want to make sure that the raised portion is on the outside of the box. So that logo should be on the top of what's going to be the outside of your cardstock. So I'm going to set that down here, put my plate on, and run this through again. Happy Friday, Janet. How are you doing today? Okay, so now let's set this aside because we're not going to be using the die machine for a few more minutes. And we're going to open this up. We have this pretty embossed box. But I want to take this over the top because I kind of like over the top. So I'm going to take buttercream ink. Now the thing with the buttercream is this is a pigment ink. This is going to take longer to dry. So what we're going to do is take a small dauber and the buttercream ink, and this is a very, very light touch. And I'm actually going to sit here while I do this so that I use the lightest touch because that gives me the ability to keep my hand on the desktop. And I'm just going to lightly brush this across the top so that it only inks those raised portions. And there's going to be a little get in the other, but that's fine. There's a reason that we're doing this. And we're using that pigment ink because I'm going to come back in with pan pastel on top of this. Now you can do this with the clear ink, but I happen to like, especially if you're going to use a mid to dark tone cardstock, to use either the whipped cream or the buttercream ink because that's going to give a lighter base for that color to stand out on. So I'm trying to work somewhat quickly because I still want this ink to have a little bit of tackiness as I come up on it. Hi, Carla. So come back and just brush across some of these that I did right at the beginning. So now I am going to take my pan pastel and a soft sponge, and I'm just going to dip that in, knock off any excess powder, and then I'm going to brush this across. And you can see where I inked that, because that ink is still just the slightest bit tacky, it is really grabbing that pan pastel. You're getting a really metallic look right there. So one thing I'm going to tell you about the pan pastels, and I've been trying to get this clarified right now. When we first got the pan pastels back in June, the coaches got them a little bit early before the catalog came out. We happened to notice that this one in the catalog was listed as copper and this one was listed as rose gold. Well, when you actually took them and put them on a project and heat embossed on the project, the one that was supposed to be rose gold matched the copper embossing powder, and the one that was supposed to be copper matched the rose gold embossing powder. So we talked with FSJ. They made a catalog correction at the end of June saying that these were, the image was flipped, or the description, the name of the thing was flipped in the catalog. And I thought that was the end of it. I have continued to use this as the rose gold all along. In a conversation that I had yesterday with someone from the corporate team, I was actually told that these were the other way around still. They'd clarified and that was the way that it was supposed to be. So somewhere along the way, I think somebody's confused, and it could very well be me, but I'm going to be really honest with you. If you order the rose gold pan pastel, I'm not sure which of these two pan pastels you're actually going to get in your package right now. So my suggestion is to actually order both. They're both gorgeous, gorgeous colors, so you will use them. But that whole long explanation is to come back and say, Pan Pastel puts a name on the bottom of their pastels, and that's not exactly the same as what we call them. So the one that I used today is the one that says bronze on the bottom of it. So if you have both Pan Pastels and you're trying to replicate that, that's the one that I used today. So next we're going to move on to our stamping. Now I have 3 leaves that are set onto blocks right now, and we're going to go ahead and start by stamping our fresh sage leaves. So I'm going to use this one that has like the 3 leaves together on it, and I'm just going to ink that up, and I got to be a little bit careful. I just re-inked this pad, so it's really juicy today. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that down here at the bottom. So while that one is going, I am going to grab a coffee filter because we are going to heat emboss. So I'm going to start out with the smaller leaf, and we are going to go to the clear pigment ink at this point. So I'm just going to ink that up, and then I'm going to turn this just a little. I'm going to lay this out so I can die cut it all at once, and I want to, that's why I'm trying to kind of lay everything out where I'm laying it out on here. So I can just run all 3 dies at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and coat that, and this is coated with the rose gold embossing powder. And that does say rose gold on the lid. And then while that's still there, because that clear pigment ink does take a little bit to dry, you go ahead and ink this big leaf. And you actually don't have to worry so much about the stem because we are going to trim that down just a bit. But go ahead, stamp that down, grab my coffee filter, and copper embossing powder this time around. So we're using both colors. And then tap that off. Okay. Get this cleaned up before I make a big mess. I spill embossing powder quite a bit. There's little dusts all over the place. So now we're going to set this. I've got my heat tool. It's going to get a little bit loud for just a second. Okay, so now we're going to grab our dies and we're going to go ahead and die cut this. So I'm working with multiple dies on this little piece of cardstock, so I do like to tape mine down when I'm doing that. We have the magnetic platform, but sometimes when you have a lot of dies on a piece, if you don't hit those magnets just right, this one will shift over and it'll cut right through all that embossing that I just did. So I'm just putting a little piece of micropore tape on these. It peels up right off the cardstock after you've run it through, but it'll hold that die in place really well until we get this run through the die cut machine. We got a little close there. I may have to do 2 passes here. Oh, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to. That one's just a little too close. So let me grab the machine and bring that over. Take that out, put the other plate in. And go ahead and run this through. Hey, Karen. Okay. So we have those leaves. Now we're going to get, and you see that's just coming right up, and the cardstock's not damaged at all. So let's get this other one in place. And just go ahead. And run that one through. And now we're done with the machine, so I can put this back here. And we will pull this out. So I am going to use some medium foam squares here. And I'm going to put one on the back side of the green leaves and one on the back side of the rose gold leaf. And then we're going to attach these on top of one another. We're stacking them. So I'm going to stack it a little offset so you can see that copper pulling out from behind it. And then I'm going to stack this one that way. You have this little stack of leaves. So we're going to set our leaves aside for a second. We're going to come back to our treat box and we're going to seal this up. So on the side here, there is a scored spot. So I'm going to take my white liner tape and I'm putting it right along the edge of that scored tab. So put that there. Then I'm going to flip it over, and on the other side where this tab's going to glue on, I'm putting a piece of white liner right along the edge here. This is going to make sure that this is sealed up. It's nice and strong. So then what I'm going to do is fold this tab down, peel off that release paper and keep it down, and then take the release paper off this side, and I'm going to fold this in half and press that down. So that should line it up perfectly. Instead of sitting up here and fiddling with it here trying to get it to line up, if I just fold it in half, it should just line up perfectly. So we're going to make it round it out just a little bit. You tuck the tab with the finger grip in first, and then the other tab there. So this is a treat, which means we have to have something inside of it, right? So I found these. They're actually pretty good. We're going to stick a couple of these inside our little treat box. And then I'm going to fold down the other tabs on the end. Look at that shine. Isn't that pretty? So I'm going to come back to our leaves here. And I'm just going to trim those stems off. Like I said before, we're just trimming them off. The stems are kind of going to get covered up here on this next step. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take another piece of white liner, and I'm actually going to run this right here on the front of the box. And I probably should have put that in before I stuffed it, but so I could make sure it was really burnished down. Peel off the release, which doesn't want to come off because I have no fingernails right now. Oh man. It's got to happen when you're doing live, right? You got to have a technical issue. There. And then I'm just going to set this on, and I'm trying to make sure those stems are kind of right there with the top of the box. So just press that down. I want it to lift up a little bit here because that gives it a little bit of dimension. If you glue it down, it just kind of makes it a little blob, but if it sticks up, it's fun. And then finally, we're going to add a final touch to this with some fresh sage ribbon. So I tend to cut my ribbon a little bit long. I'd rather have a little excess to cut off on it than have too little to tie a bow. So this is you're probably looking about 20 inches or so that I've pulled, which is quite a bit for this size box. I might have got a little carried away with that, but we're just wrapping it up top and bottom. This is going to be what holds that box together because it's going to be tied. And then I'm just going to go ahead and tie my bow. So I fiddle with ribbon a lot as I tie bows. Come on. To get it to line up the way I want. Let's see here. This one just doesn't want to get poofy like I want it. Okay. And then you can kind of slide it a little bit into place where you want it. Trim the ends. Okay, and then I'm just gonna fluff it up just a little bit more, get those loops going, and there you go. It's just a cute little treat box. I love the metallic accents with it because I think it gives it a really kind of fancy look. These would be really pretty. You could dangle a tag with them, off of them with a name on it, so put them at a place setting for Thanksgiving, or just have them to take around with you and give out to people. So let me switch the camera around. If you have any questions, go ahead and actually put them in the chat right now because I know there is a little bit of a delay, so hang on just 1 second. Okay, so I have these crazy lights on my desk, and if I don't remember to turn them off before I turn the camera on where I'm on camera, I'm like lit from below. It's really creepy. So I don't see any questions at all. I hope you guys liked this. I hope it was inspiring to you. I love this mini pillow box die. It's a super easy treat box, and there's so many ways you can customize it. So as I said, in about 10 minutes, there's going to be a supply list listed on my blog. It's on the top of the blog. It says FB supply list. And I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Friday and a wonderful weekend ahead. I'll see you next time. Much love to you all.